So why do I create so much content on mentality? First of all, this is basically a factor. I remember this feeling. Also, I just wanted to put this up again. I like this a lot. When it comes to why I make a lot of mentality fighting game content, it's because a lot of people grow up with fighting games and this kind of bad mentality, this bad competitive mentality. Honestly, it's probably a product of weird schoolyard culture. In schools, it'll be if you play a top tier, it's like you're actually not beating me or some shit like that. There's always people that have that sort of mentality. Some people, it stays with them all their life, their whole life. They basically have this internalized honor system that it basically only holds them back. In fact, I'm going to give you guys, I don't know if this is really a hot take. This may be a hot take because no one has ever said this. In fact, have you guys ever seen this discussion? It comes up maybe every year about how there's an innate talent for fighting games, an inherent skill. Essentially what I mean is a lot of people will think not everybody can play fighting games to the same level. Not everyone can be a top level player in fighting games, right? This is essentially the sort of discussion they would have. I do not believe that. There is natural talent, but I think there's also being able to survive past it, even overcome natural talent through mentality. You can see this in a lot of games, specifically Dragon Ball or Exert. My perspective on it is you can essentially make up for any lost talent or any sort of gap in skill through your mentality, and I can explain why. No matter how talented you are, you're always going to be limited by your mentality. For example, you can't always be the god of reacting, right? Not everyone is blessed with godlike reactions in every instance, right? You and someone else play at the same time. This person is a certain amount of levels above you. Let's say they're level 5, you're level 1. A very common occurrence is this person never leaves level 5 because of their mentality through, again, what I was talking about yesterday, where their mentality essentially blocks them because of their internalized hierarchy. This is very common as games develop, especially through patches. You may see players that were extremely dominant one patch essentially disappear. No matter what, through patches and things like that and whatever, you will always have players maybe they're they win every tournament and then they become a top 8 player right after that. And then they can win sometimes, but it's rare. That's normal. But what's not normal is if you win tournaments and then suddenly you never make it out of pools. And sometimes that can happen. That's happened in the past, believe it or not. And it's happened through essentially mentality, because if you refuse to actually adapt to what's happening, again, this is ego blocking your growth. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter if you can react to everything. If you have an internalized perception of how the game should be and you do not change, then you are going to be left behind. If you've played Dragon Ball, this could have even happened to you, basically, where one patch, let's say you're the 16 monster, right? Then they release Bardock, right? And you're this game sucks. Bardock's broken. Actually, well, that did happen, right? Bardock was broken. But a good example is if you had a lot of success with Bardock, even, or a 16 or any top tier, they nerfed them. You go from being really dominant to being kind of lackluster. Basically, raw skill doesn't matter if you don't know where to put it. Mentality can carry you through even being underperforming if you know enough situations, or if you understand, this strategy doesn't work here, I'll try another one here, whatever. And even a lot of people meme on Leffen, but Leffen will complain and then he'll grind for 10 hours straight. A lot of people do not do that. A lot of people meme on him, but he's got a better mentality than 99% of the fighting game community. So why do I like making so much content besides that? It's simple. A lot of people have these mentalities. In fact, a lot of pro players have mentalities like this. A lot of pro players have these kind of leftover mentalities where they kind of are detrimental, but there's not a lot of resources on how to fix them or how to think better. A lot of them just cruise by through ego. And that's why I said there are players, I believe, that no matter how much the patch changes, because of their mentality, they're gonna do great, right? No matter what. But there are some players that, I believe, not because of their character, it doesn't matter what character they play, it's just the way the game will change will hurt them, right? It's not a matter of being carried, it's about change. Specifically, I'm this content I'm making, it's what's the term? It's a poster saying, fix your shit or you're done, right? Essentially, what I want is for all these players to come up and out of nowhere and just wash the top players. And anyone who does not adjust their mentality, they're gone, right? I think it's okay to get salty, right? Like, I think it's perfectly okay. It's totally normal. I think it's bad if it is a detriment to your growth, though, right? And that's sometimes where it will kind of come in, right? And this is usually like the mid-level problem. I can think of at least 5 people who made top 5 in a tournament, or not even top 5, like top 4 or 3, and then they never perform the same way again because they let their ego get to them. This is not, like, I'm not joking. Like, this is more common than you think. It's less common right now because it doesn't, especially with Strive, it's been one big patch, right? But again, if you've played Dragon Ball, you've probably seen this happen before. Basically, it's a lot about self-awareness. All you have to know is, am I feeling this specific way because, like, I'm dominant right now? And if so, like, one, I think it's important to honestly treat your opponents with some respect, because, like, a lot of the time it's kind of a process of being ignorant to what other people can do. A lot of people will end up thinking that no one else can improve. No one else can improve, even though that doesn't quite make sense, right? Like, that's really all there is to it. Like, a lot of people just, like, be like, oh, I have no expectation that people will keep up with me. And then when it happens, they're like, I'm upset now. I don't like this. I'm the main character. Yeah, they have main character syndrome. No, you're always competing with people and you're always learning with people. There's nothing wrong with that. That's really the point. So my goal is, with a lot of this content, I want a lot more people to take this to heart and kind of think about how they can improve more in this way and kind of keep their ego more in check. Again, it's a process. You're never going to be able to overcome it entirely, or at least, like, not fast, right? Like, this is something, like, changing yourself, like, can take a long time, but, like, it's possible. I believe the difference between success in fighting games is always recognizing a problem versus refusing to acknowledge it. Like, I think, again, one of the best people for understanding, like, or for being solid about this consistently is, like, you know, Kizzy and LK. They always are just like, I just need to do more, right? And that's why they're always good in games they play. Always. Like, no, they're almost always top tier in every game they play. Once a game's patch is out, you are out of control of how it can change. No matter what, like, you can't just, like, oh, I'm dropping the New Balance patch. It's time to drop this shit in a tournament or else. Once the game's patch is out, it's up to you to deal with it, right? As you get older, it's easier to, like, control your ego. And I think it's, a lot of it is, and if you put too much basis into, like, what people think about you for gaming, or, like, you put so much stock into your place in that game above all else. And again, like, as a teenager, it's easier to do that, or, like, young adult, especially if you're still in school. But I think as you get older and you have more confidence in the situation you're in, it becomes easier. It's not easy, right? Like, it took me years, but like, it helped me a lot to think like that.